Welcome to today's deep dive. For you listening, we are opening up a stack of really fascinating source materials today, all centered around this concept of, well, the wealth habit.
Yeah, and it really is a masterclass in what we call invisible architecture.
Exactly, because we want to figure out where timelines actually split. Like, I want you to imagine two people making, the exact same salary, working the identical hours, living in the exact same neighborhood.
Right, so on paper, they're carbon copies.
Right. But you fast forward 10 years, and one of them is essentially a millionaire, just completely insulated from economic shocks.
While the other is drowning in consumer debt. Just, one missed paycheck away from total ruin.
Yeah, and our mission today is to kind of tear the roof off that architecture. We're looking at the quiet, completely hidden mechanics of wealth creation.
And I think the most striking takeaway from all these sources is what is actually missing from that equation.
Right, like no luck, no massive windfall, no raw talent. Those are just not the drivers here.
Which, it forces us into a somewhat uncomfortable corner, to be honest.
Wait, how so?
Well, when we eliminate the lottery ticket narrative, or like that myth of the eccentric genius, we are just left with behavioral science. We're left looking in the mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Let's start with the way we traditionally view money, because I think it really sets us up to fail from the start.
Oh, absolutely.
We usually treat our paycheck like a retrospective report card, right?
Okay.
The month ends, the direct deposit hits, and we look at that number as the final grade for our past labor.
Right. We treat it like a score.
But the source material suggests a total paradigm shift, like treating that money not as a measurement of past effort, but as raw kinetic energy for the future, like a seed.
That is a really great way to put it. It begins entirely with perception.
So does the divergence between our two hypothetical friends, let's call them Alex and Ryan, start with a mechanical difference in how they handle leftover cash? Or is it like a psychological difference in how they even perceive it?
It's the perception, which then dictates the mechanics. I mean, wealth is not a status. It is a behavioral loop.
A behavioral loop.
Yeah, it happens quietly, month after month, while the rest of the world is basically distracted.
Right.
And it demands that we dismantle this incredibly dangerous trap in personal finance, which is the income illusion.
You mean the idea that earning a high salary makes you bulletproof?
Precisely. We naturally conflate income with wealth.
Because they seem like the exact same thing.
They really do. But the sources highlight this huge demographic of high-income earners. Doctors, corporate executives, elite professionals.
And they are functionally broke?
Yes. Their net worth is practically zero. Meanwhile, you have moderate income earners like teachers or civil servants who frequently achieve robust financial independence.
Okay, I have to kind of push back on the math here because on a sheer numerical level, that feels really counterintuitive.
I know it does.
Like, if someone is pulling in $400,000 a year, even with terrible financial habits, it feels like they should outpace a school teacher making $60,000.
It seems like it, yeah.
A massive salary is just a fire hose of cash. How does the moderate earner's tiny behavioral loop actually beat that executive's fire hose? I mean, it's like pouring a fire hose into a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom, right?
Well, let's pull away from the water analogies for a second and look at this biologically.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of that massive income like a bodybuilder consuming 10,000 calories a day. On the surface, they look incredibly powerful.
Right. Huge muscles, lifting heavy weights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if that bodybuilder has built up an enormous amount of high-maintenance muscle mass, their base metabolic rate is just astronomical.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah. In financial terms, that translates to massive mortgages, luxury car leases, private club dues, and just general lifestyle creep.
So they have to consume those 10,000 calories just to...
Just to survive the day. Exactly. The overhead just consumes them. If they miss even one meal, meaning, the economy dips or their bonus gets cut, their system crashes.
So the whole system is incredibly fragile.
Highly fragile. But the moderate earner who achieves financial independence, Ryan, in our scenario, operates with a lean, highly efficient financial metabolism.
So the gap between them is defined by just one core habit. Alex, the high earner, spends money on lifestyle first and then tries to save whatever is left over.
Right. And Ryan saves first, automatically, and lives on what remains. Over a year, the gap is tiny. Over 10 years, it's enormous.
Which introduces this element of artificial scarcity. Ryan is essentially tricking his own psychology.
He really is. By moving the capital out of reach immediately, he restricts his available resources.
So he forces himself to adapt to a smaller footprint.
And human beings are incredibly adaptable to constrained resources. When you automate the savings first, you bypass the limbic system entirely.
Because you aren't relying on willpower at the end of the month.
Exactly. Willpower is a finite, depletable resource.
And when you compound that habit over a decade, the financial cushion expands while the lifestyle overhead stays lean.
Which is the secret sauce.
Right. But if compounding the habit is the engine, the source points out that time has to be the fuel.
Absolutely. Time is everything.
And this requires a massive cognitive pivot. The wealthy think in decades, whereas most people think in days.
That right there is the absolute dividing line between consumer psychology and investor psychology.
But I look at this and I see a profound conflict with our biology. We are primates wired for immediate survival.
We are.
When I hold a dollar, my instinct is to ask, what can this do for my stress level or my comfort right this second? What can I buy today?
But the wealthy are looking at that exact same dollar and asking, what is the future value of this capital in 10 years?
It's like they're viewing capital as a time machine.
They really are viewing it that way.
Explain that a bit more, because we usually think of a dollar just as a unit of exchange, for a good or a service.
Sure. Well, when you spend $1 on consumption, you are buying a momentary experience.
Right.
But when you deploy $1 into an investment vehicle, you are literally purchasing your own future time.
Oh, wow.
Every dollar invested is a fractional piece of your future autonomy. You are basically buying the hours of your Tuesday afternoon 10 years from now. Think of every dollar as a tiny worker you're hiring.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Viewing your dollars as tiny employees in a factory is a great analogy.
It really helps shift the perspective.
But let's bring this into the messy reality of the listener's daily life. Thinking in decades is incredibly hard when life is screaming at you in days.
Oh, it's brutal.
You have bills, you have emergencies, inflation, eating your purchasing power, and honestly, the urge to just buy a nice lunch because you're burned out.
Yeah, the noise of the present moment is absolutely deafening.
So how do the wealthy maintain that decade-long vision when everything is pulling them into the present?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you maintain the vision by understanding the fundamental difference between active labor and capital deployment.
Meaning putting your money to work rather than working for your money.
Exactly. When life screams at you, the instinct is to throw your money at the immediate discomfort.
Just to make it go away.
Right. But the wealthy realize that if you constantly consume your capital to solve temporary friction, you will always be the one doing the heavy lifting.
You're condemned to active labor forever.
Yes. They tolerate the short-term friction because they know deploying capital to generate independent cash flow is the only structural escape velocity from the daily grind.
Okay, so if we are viewing our capital as this autonomous fleet of workers that we are sending out to capture future time, the obvious question becomes, well, where do we deploy them?
What specific architecture are we trying to build?
Exactly. Which takes us directly to the great divide of modern finance. What we actually choose to buy. The second habit.
The divergence between acquiring invisible assets versus visible liabilities.
And the source outlines this very clearly. An asset puts money into your pocket, like investments, businesses, rental properties, dividend stocks.
And a liability takes money out.
Yeah.
Expensive debt, unnecessary luxury purchases, things that lose value quickly.
Right. But I want to look at the sociology of this. Our entire society constantly markets liabilities as the ultimate status symbol.
Absolutely. It's everywhere.
If someone rolls up in a fancy, depreciating luxury sports car, society collectively agrees, oh, that person is rich.
We are biologically wired to peacock, to display our excess resources.
So what does this all mean? If someone buys a fancy car, they feel rich, but the source says they are actually buying a liability? Are we confusing looking rich with actually being wealthy?
Yes. We're engaging in costly signaling. It's exactly like a peacock's tail.
Which is actually a liability for the bird, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
It slows the bird down and attracts predators. We acquire luxury goods to signal to the tribe that we have so many resources we can afford to waste them.
But the source material argues this is a fatal trap. By trying to look rich, we are actively destroying our ability to be wealthy.
It is the paradox of visible wealth. The things that make you look wealthy are almost always the things destroying your wealth.
Because the true architecture of financial independence is entirely invisible.
Exactly. Ownership creates income, and income creates freedom. You cannot see the dividend-yielding equities in someone's brokerage account.
You can't see the equity they hold in a private business or a rental portfolio.
It's stealth wealth.
Stealth wealth, I love that.
It's the ultimate power move because it relies on ownership rather than performance.
Right, the high-income earner who is functionally broke is just performing well.
They are highly leveraged, carrying massive debt on depreciating assets just to maintain an image.
While the truly wealthy individual focuses on the invisible assets that generate cash flow.
They do not care if their neighbor thinks they are average because their invisible architecture is generating continuous autonomous income.
Which requires an incredibly thick skin. You have to actively choose to bypass the social validation of looking successful today.
And that brings us to the psychological bedrock of this entire source material, the third major habit.
Delayed gratification. Choosing invisible assets over flashy liabilities requires passing up immediate social rewards.
This is where the math stops and the psychological endurance begins.
The sources put it bluntly. Rich people become comfortable waiting. Contrast impressing people for one weekend versus building financial security for the next 20 years.
But we are living in the most hyper-optimized dopamine economy in human history.
Exactly. We live in an instant gratification world. Same-day delivery, instant streaming. Choosing to wait is basically an act of rebellion.
It is absolute rebellion. You are opting out of the immediate reward cycle that the broader economy depends on to keep you consuming.
But here's the devil's advocate position, and I want to relate this to the listener's daily life.
Sure, go for it.
I hear people say all the time, well, what if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? Is wealth just an endless waiting game where you never get to enjoy the present?
This raises an important question, and it's a common defense mechanism people use to justify destructive consumption.
Justifying it by saying tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. But that fundamentally misunderstands the strategy. Delayed gratification, in this context, is not an infinite waiting game.
It's not a vow of poverty.
No, it is a highly engineered, temporary sacrifice designed to reach a specific mathematical milestone, the crossover point.
The point where your passive cash flow exceeds your lifestyle burn rate.
Correct. The sacrifice of a little comfort right now is specifically engineered to buy massive freedom later.
So once you hit that crossover point, you aren't waiting anymore.
You have decoupled your time from your income. You are no longer reliant on lottery tickets, shortcuts, or the myth of overnight success.
You've built a fortress.
Wealth, at its core, is not about the accumulation of currency. It is the accumulation of options.
Options to walk away from a toxic job, travel, spend a Tuesday morning with your family.
Working because you want to, not because you have to. That is what you are buying when you delay gratification.
So we've mapped out the mindset. We understand the mechanics. But how do you actually step onto this path today? The source leaves us with a highly actionable playbook.
Yes, there are 3 simple mechanical steps to start building this today.
The first is tracking where your money goes, which is often misunderstood.
People hear tracking and they immediately think budgeting, which feels restrictive and punitive.
Like putting yourself on a
financial diet.
Yeah.
Exactly what we want to avoid. Tracking is not about restriction. It is about establishing a data feedback loop.
Conducting a behavioral audit.
Because you cannot optimize a system if you do not measure its outputs.
Yeah.
By tracking, you identify the invisible leaks in your financial metabolism.
The subscription you forgot about, the emotional spending triggers.
Right. Awareness precedes control.
Then we move to the second step, which is paying yourself first. We touched on this with Ryan's habit, but mechanically, how does one actually execute it?
You remove human agency from the equation. You automate it.
So you automate the transfer of capital into your investment accounts the exact day your income hits.
You do not wait to see what is left over, because human nature dictates that expenses will always rise to absorb available liquidity.
Parkinson's law applied to personal finance.
Yes. By paying yourself first, you make building your invisible architecture your single highest fixed cost.
Which flows perfectly into the final step. Start investing consistently, even with small amounts.
The text has a crucial quote here. Consistency beats intensity. Every single time.
It's like going to the gym. You can't walk into a gym on January 1st, lift 500 pounds, and instantly get in shape.
It just doesn't work that way.
But lifting 10 pounds every single day, that transforms you.
I like that. The wealthy don't live on a different planet or have a different economy. They just play the game differently.
They apply continuous pressure to their finances. Small amounts of capital deployed systematically over decades.
And doing that requires us to shift how we measure success. You have to stop asking, how much money do I have?
Because that number is just a static snapshot of the past.
Instead, you need to look at your bank account and ask, what habits am I building today that will create my wealth tomorrow?
It's all about the trajectory. A modest income with a robust automated system has a positive trajectory. It's only a matter of time.
The trajectory is the only reliable predictor of where you'll be in 10 years.
So to pull all of these threads together as we wrap up this deep dive, we've seen how wealth is really a quiet, daily practice of compounding habits.
It's prioritizing decades over days.
Right. Buying assets over liabilities and embracing delayed gratification to ultimately buy freedom and options.
It is a complete reconstruction of how we interact with value.
It absolutely is.
And I want to leave everyone with a final thought to ponder.
Go for it.
If every dollar you spend on a visible liability today could have been deployed as an asset working for you for the next 10 years. Wait, think about that. Then what is the true time cost of the things we buy?
That is a heavy question.
When you purchase something you don't really need, are you just spending money, or are you secretly trading away hours of your future freedom?
I hope you'll take that question and hold it up against your own habits this week. Keep learning, keep investing in yourself, and keep building the future you deserve. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.